Good morning. My name is Karen Nesbitt and I'm the Deputy Head of Social Work at Sydney Children's Hospital, and today I will be your MC. On behalf of Sydney Children's Hospital, we would warmly and sincerely like to welcome you to our annual service of Remembrance, where we come together in honouring, celebrating and remembering each of your children who have passed away. Thank you to Tanya Severa and Monica Lee, our music therapists, for leading us into this space. And firstly, I'd like to introduce Auntie Maxine Ryan, who is an Aboriginal elder from the La Perouse community, to welcome us to country.
Yeah, you got to watch for COVID. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen and families. My name is Auntie Maxine Ryan and I'm from the La Perouse Aboriginal community of Botany Bay, and I belong to the Dharawal people. I would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal and the Gadigal clans, who are the traditional occupants of the land we gather on. And on their behalf, I welcome you all here today. To my ancestors, the place we are gathered on was used as a camping ground. To the south is a traditional burial ground, and to the northeast are places of great significance in traditional society. The Welcome to Country is our contemporary interpretation, seeking and receiving permission to visit our areas beyond our traditional lands, or as we call it, country. It is a ceremony recognising the cultural and spiritual connection to the country and an opportunity to reaffirm our ongoing relationship to our land. The ceremonies allow us to pay respect to our ones we have lost, and our deepest sympathy goes out to the families who have lost a loved one, and pay our respects to elders past and present to reflect on our shared history. And on behalf of the La Perouse Local Aboriginal Land Council, my ancestors and my elders past and present and those emerging, I welcome you here today, and I hope that you respect this land as my people have since the beginning of time. As I work in schools, and I always thank the children for looking after this beautiful land. They learn so much from just our culture and how important the land is to us, and how important it is for everybody to live for reconciliation. And with COVID, it makes it, very hard for us to respect, and for the distance is respect. So we need to respect our distance with COVID around. So I welcome you here today, and on my behalf, I would like to acknowledge those who have lost a loved one too. It will always be there in your heart. You will always have a peace in your heart, as my heart is beautiful, and it's always there for my people too. So thank you and welcome and take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Maxine, for your welcome to country. And thank you to all of you at home. We are honoured to be sharing this time with parents, carers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, friends and others in the community. We have families joining us today, not only from all over New South Wales, but also from overseas. And we're joining you from Little Bay. And to represent you at home, we've placed a leaf and a rose with your child's name on a chair here in this space. We also have staff that looked after your child joining us, and we'd like to welcome our new CE, Catherine Cox, who is joining us online as well. Some of us here today are already experiencing significant impacts from the COVID-19 pandemic, and our thoughts are with you. We hope for a sooner rather than later return to some sense of normality. And although our service this year is somewhat different, being a virtual service of remembrance, we hope that by coming together virtually, you'll feel some sense of connection and we plan to continue with some of the traditions from previous years. We hope at home you have been able to create a safe and special space, whether that be surrounded by family and friends or on your own. You might choose to silence your mobile phone, and those here, if you could do that, that would be helpful. If you have children with you, after the service, you might choose to complete some of the activities that were sent to you by Amy, our child life therapist. I'd also like to take this opportunity to remind you that to ensure everyone's privacy, we won't be displaying your screens at home. The only screen that will be visible will be ours here in this space. So, in remembrance of your children who have died too soon, we'll take this time to remember and reflect. We will be recording the service for those who were planning to attend but haven't been able to make it, whether that be for technology or issues with connecting today. And if you're requiring support at home, you can phone or text 0412 957 319, and one of our social workers will phone you back. We're planning to phone you back to keep the phone line free for others. And then following the service, Nora O'Loughlin, our bereavement coordinator, will be available for 1 hour. So today we want to acknowledge the significance of your children who have died too early. We know that they matter to you, their family and the community, and that they made a difference in this world. We know that losing a child can often be underestimated or misunderstood. And today, in recognition of your loss and subsequent pain, at the same time we want to honour and celebrate your children who have died and acknowledge both your sadness and grief, but the love you hold in your hearts. Each of your children were precious and unique, and they made a difference in this world and on the people in their lives. I'd now like to introduce Mohammed El Shafi, the Islamic chaplain, to lead us in a spiritual reflection.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God Almighty, the most gracious, the most merciful. Honorable speakers, distinguished delegates, and respected moms and dads. It is indeed a great honor to welcome you all to the Sydney Children's Hospital Randwick Service Memorial. And allow me, please, to welcome you with the Islamic salutation, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, which means, may peace be and blessing be with you all. I would like to start to congratulate the organizers for such great and yearly unbelievable memorial that we always celebrate here. And this is a good invitation to come together and to share with each other our loss. And within this occasion, please allow me to share with you this Islamic reflection of how can we grieve in an Islamic way. All of us suffer grief, all of us. While it might range from some mild sadness at missed opportunities or deep regret at past mistakes, to the most severe pain that comes from losing loved ones. As Muslims, we are fortunate enough to know the truth of grief, which is that if we responded appropriately, it is the way of growing closer to our Lord. Allah Almighty said in the Holy Quran, but give glad tidings to Sabirin. Sabirin is the most patient ones, who when afflicted with calamity say, truly to Allah we belong, and truly to Him we return. They are those on whom we are placing from their Lord and who will receive his mercy, and they who are the guided ones. Holy Quran, chapter 2, verses 155 to 157. Whilst patience in the face of adversity is indeed a virtue, this is not just to say that Allah Almighty expects us to react as a robot to the pain. The Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessing be upon him, he said, expressed the grief openly and wept when remembering the passing of his toddler son Abraham. And he said, the eyes shedding tears and the heart is saddened, but we don't say anything except that which pleasure our Lord. Indeed, O Abraham, we are bereaved of your departure from us. Then he turned his face towards the mountain, and he said, O mountain, if you were as sorrowful as I am, you would certainly crumble into pieces. But we say what Allah has ordered us to say. We are the servant of God, and we will return to him, and thanks to Almighty God, the creator of all the universe. But from his pain, we can take inspiration, because the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, responded to his test with grace, patience, and unending faith. Those who lost the parents and siblings and friends remain hopeful to their happy reunion with their loved ones in the gardens of the paradise, in God willing, at the hereafter. But those that endure the loss of their children can seek refuge in the knowledge that their beautiful innocent babies wait at the gates of paradise for their parents to join them. There's always hope, dear respected moms and dads. And we must hold on to the thread of hope, even when we feel like we are in the depths of darkness or sadness. May our grief enable us to open our hearts. May our pain become a great ally, and may our loss pave the way for us to gain God Almighty's favor. Amen. And thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Hospital staff are mindful of the genuine privilege we feel in supporting children, young people, and their families, especially during the most difficult times, that is before, during, and after the death of your children. Those of us here today represent all of our colleagues in letting you know that the hospital staff who cared for your child continues to care about your family. And like all of you here today, we want you to know that we will not forget your child. I would now like to call upon Verity Lucky, who is the Director of Nursing, who represents the Sydney Children's Hospital Network, to share a few words.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. Auntie Maxine Ryan has had to leave, but I really wanted to thank her for her warm welcome to country. I too would like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people and the Gadigal people, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, and pay respects to elders past, present and future. I also pay respects to any Aboriginal families who are here with us today. I would also like to acknowledge Muhammad El-Shafi, who provided the powerful spiritual reflection today. Thank you. The service of Remembrance is one of the most special events held by the hospital each year. It is a time when we come together to honour and remember a very special group of children. Children who have been loved and cared for, but sadly have died despite best efforts. This year in particular, when we as a community have been challenged by the COVID-19 pandemic, meaningful opportunities to connect and to support each other seem so much more important. It is my privilege today to welcome you all on behalf of Sydney Children's Hospital Network to this very special event where we come together to remember these very much loved children. Digital technology means that we are able to connect far and wide within Australia and overseas, so welcome all. To the two families that are present with us here today, a special thank you and welcome. The family of Amelia and of Alice, who will deliver the parent and sibling addresses for us today. We really appreciate your courage and your generosity in sharing your reflections. Thank you. Of course, the families here today only represent a small fraction of the total of number of families that we have cared for who have lost a child. So I would like to acknowledge all families who have lost a child. Your children are in our thoughts. I would like to recognise the diversity of families' experiences and journeys with your child's health and with our health service. Some families have had long association with our hospital over many years of treatment and of care, while others have only had brief contact. Families have come from near and from far. Some have lost a child quite young, and for others, the child was older. We recognise the wide ripple effect of the death of a child. Despite the uniqueness of each family's experience, the common thread for all is the experience of grief from losing a child and the profound way it changes you forever. The impact of the loss is deeply felt by parents and extended to the wider community, siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles, extended family, friends. Today, we especially acknowledge all the brothers and sisters who have had to face the loss of their precious brother or sister, their friend. Children who were always in the background, caring and loving their sibling. We recognise your pain and your loss. We want you to know that you too are special to us all. For us as staff of Sydney Children's Hospital, the death of a child is profoundly affecting and leaves an indelible mark on us all. Caring for a child with a serious health problem or a child who is dying is deeply personal and meaningful. We share your hopes for a cure, for comfort, and for peace. Losing a child is possibly the most intimate, personal experience that a parent would ever experience when emotions are at their rawest. We recognise our privilege in supporting families through these difficult times. It is never like it is business as usual. It is always very personal and very individual. We always wish we could have done more. We value the many lessons you and your children have taught us. Lessons about love, life, courage, resilience, and determination. And we thank you for entrusting your child's care to us. For this reason, the service of remembrance is very important to staff as it is to families. The Sydney Children's Hospital is a very special environment to work in, and staff are deeply committed to the children we care for and to the ongoing pursuit of the best clinical care for children and for families. We are proud of our achievements, and we appreciate that there is still so much for us to learn and to do. I would also like to recognise the diverse staff of Sydney Children's Hospital who care for your children. The clinical staff, the doctors, nurses, allied health, and the essential support staff as well, the administrative staff, the domestic services, and our volunteers. Staff are the heart and the soul of your children's healthcare and the invaluable glue that binds our care around the family. Today, I want to reassure you that the children who have died, those who we are remembering today, have had a lasting legacy within the hospital. They have touched us and they are remembered. We hope that this service of remembrance will be a tribute to all the special children who live in our hearts, and it will be time for hope and healing. Thank you.
Thanks, Verity. Next, I would like to introduce a parent from our hospital community, Phil Reichart, who will share the story of his daughter Amelia.
Thank you. Hello. I'm here for Amelia Reichert. Every person in this world makes a difference. It's easy to live our lives with one day following the next, expecting that our friends and our loved ones will always be with us. Little Amelia was both my daughter and my friend, and I'd like to share with you the gift that she had brought to my family's lives. Originally, my wife Rosie and I got married and built a house together. It was our grand designs project. Our house has as many rooms as we want to grow our whole family. Sophia, Amelia's big sister, arrived a week after we finished construction and had moved in. Things were going really well, and we thought Sophia would love a sister to keep her company. Kids need friends, and even though Sophia didn't know at that time, she needed another kid in the house to make our abode complete. Our beautiful little Amelia Rose Reichert was born on the 23rd of February 2016. We were so happy to welcome her into our family and share our journey together. I was the first person Amelia saw on this planet, just moments before she lay in her mother's arms. We had dreams of an amazing lifetime ahead for her. Amelia quickly became an important member in our home. Everywhere we went as a family. We made visits to our grandparents, our friends, and on outings to see the world around us. Life was sweeter when we were all together. We had many adventures together as a family. Amelia travelled in the car, and she loved it so much that when we stopped at the lights, she'd certainly tell you all about how she wanted to keep on moving. She also loved walks in the pram, but really, I think she just loved hanging out with her family. Amelia was an easy traveller, and she loved to look around and take in the views that the world had to offer her. Sophia and Amelia would hold hands in the back seat, while us parents would hold hands in the front seat as we drove around. Life seemed like a pretty good adventure, and as a parent, it is normal to want to show your kids the world around us. Maybe one day she could have travelled the world. Every moment in Amelia's life was cared for with total love and attention. On our good days, we were a family that was whole. Being a father in these moments is something very special. Seeing Amelia's face light up when I walked in the door after a long day in the office was a beautifully authentic moment that I will happily relive every day. Amelia was a sweet girl and a content girl, and it didn't take long for me to see that she communicated through her face, her smile, and her beautiful big blue eyes. She loved being at home and being in the company of her big sister Sophia, her mum Rosie, and myself. My moments with Amelia still feel strong today. I would lean back in the chair and hold Amelia in my shoulder. Amelia's face was like a breath's distance away. We would look into each other's eyes and I'd see her smile. As she grew up, she started to talk to me. At first, her mouth would move and then the sound would slowly come out. And soon she was imitating me, going ooh and ah as we spoke to each other. Clearly, Amelia was having fun. Amelia was such a happy child and she loved to smile, and in my heart I knew she was really giggling away, laughing at the silly things Daddy did. As long as she was with us, she knew she was safe. A child lives their formative years in a state of complete trust in you. She relied on us for food, knowing when to sleep and when to be awake. And Amelia lived her whole life in constant trust of others, and she ended up being a really good judge of character. One summer, we went to an outdoor barbecue with lots of family members in the public area. The party was full of new faces and unfamiliar surrounds. And little Amelia loved to get out, but she really didn't like the crowds. I held Amelia in my arms and we picked a spot at a table. That's right. Amelia didn't like the wind either. I held her in my arms and we found a spot at the table and sat there letting the party go on around us. Her and I were really content. We were happy just being together, watching the world go by. The biggest trip that Amelia enjoyed was to the snowy mountains to experience real snow. As her parents and protectors, we were ever fearful of what the icy cold winds and the drifting snow might bring to our child's health. In our car, Amelia sat watching the snow fall onto the trees. What was that white paradise that lay outside the window? Mummy quickly wrapped Amelia in a warm jacket, and then we put her in a pram. One thing Amelia didn't know, as we found out, was she didn't like the wind. And to our amazement, she actually quite liked being out in the snow and having a good time. We walked around. Her beautiful big eyes were looking out in wonderment. She loved watching the world around her. It's moments like these that make our memory of Amelia so special. Amelia's cousins, aunties, and uncles have also given Amelia a sense of family and happiness. Amelia's life was so pure from the love that her wider family gave her. But behind her everyday adventures lay an army of people that supported her at every turn. We are very thankful for the generosity given by all of Amelia's doctors, nurses, therapists, and community support people. You all made a difference to our little girl. Amelia liked her friends at Mater Day and especially enjoyed the things like sliding down the slippery dips. We cannot ever be thankful enough to the nurses, doctors, and specialists who supported Amelia in the many times she was in hospital. No child should ever have to spend months in a hospital, but everyone gave everything to help Amelia. The hospital staff and social care workers were truly amazing in crafting memories from the last days in hospital. And to our wider community, it is hard for Rosie and I to fathom the happiness and love that Amelia has brought to people, our neighbours, work colleagues, friends and family.
She was at the hospital when it was Christmas.
Yes, we were there at Christmas time too. Amelia's 3 short years on earth were enriched by a sweet sisterhood with Sophia that will never be forgotten. Amelia always looked for Sophia and wanted to know what she was doing. Rosie and I would give anything in the world for Sophia and Amelia to play together just one more time. Amelia's life was just too short. It has been a year since Amelia's passing, and I think about her every day. At first, I worried so dreadfully that I might forget her. It's irrational, and I can't imagine any parent forgetting a child. But the fear masks a deeper sense of guilt and loss. I imagined looking into my heart and finding an empty hole where happiness once was. In my darkest hours, I couldn't imagine why I would want anything beyond melancholy to fill that void. But I've realised that life doesn't have to be that way. Amelia certainly wouldn't want us to live like that. It's in the moments of happiness that I feel Amelia's presence. She appears as a flash of light, a warm emotion, or a girl's giggle in my ear, probably the other ear. Amelia's memory is like a rose that needs nurturing and keeps giving love. My wife has created an area in our living room with memorabilia for our little girl. I keep one of Amelia's toys in my car, and who knows, Amelia might be looking down with a watchful eye to keep me safe on the road.
And it's the elephant toy.
It's the elephant toy. We have photos and keepsakes. My sister named a star in Amelia's honour, and an artist has gratefully painted a likeness of Amelia as a grown-up girl for us to hang up. These are the little reminders that our love for Amelia is ever present. I am so charmed to have Amelia in our lives. She still fills my life with happiness and inspiration. Amelia is still part of our dream to be a complete family, and the time we had together can never be taken away, and those years are the foundations for our family's future. We miss you, little girl. I thank you very much for blessing my life with your love. Amelia Rose Reichert,
I am so proud of you.
I am so proud of you. Thank you. Okay, I'll sit down.
Thank you, Phil and Sophia. Definitely teamwork. For your willingness to share your family's experience with us. It's been particularly meaningful to hear a father's perspective, so thank you. And next, I would like to welcome a sibling from our hospital community, Henry Kachetikan, who will share the story of his sister Alice.
Hello. I've been asked to talk about Alice, my sister, who spent the majority of her time in Sydney Children's between 2010 and 2012. She's my best friend. I think the hardest part of Alice's death was the fact that the memories bring me so much joy. They were the best years of my life. When I think about the best moments, they're all defined by who I was with, not what I was doing. And they all involve her because we shared everything. The problem is now, all I want is to share new experiences with her. And it's the doing nothing I miss most. It's coming home and listening to her day at school, or coming to the hospital to hear about how Ian came for lunch and what he had. The worst part of now is no matter how good the experience, how silly something is, or how relaxing the day at the beach, contrary to all my desires, it will never be, we did that. I'm not going to tell you how to work through grief. I haven't worked that one out myself. What I can share is how my sister led her life, and that was remarkable. So here's an observer's take. It's called 14 Rules for Life. 1. Smile. Sometimes seeing you smile is all the permission anyone needs to do it themselves. 2. Be honest. Unless you ate all the fairy bread at a birthday party and someone asks where it is, then you can fib. 3. Never say I'm bored. Find something you love and can get lost in. Look around you, close your eyes. Open your eyes. Think, don't think. There are so many things to do. 4. Smile. No matter how difficult the situation, find some joy in it. It's inspirational to the people around you, and it can change your focus to be more positive. 5. Stand up for people. Telling someone you love that what they did was wrong or that they hurt someone doesn't mean you stop loving them or caring for them. 6. Smile. I assume you've heard of the butterfly effect. In chaos theory, it states that minute events in one place can have great effects elsewhere. I believe that. 7. Be silly. Life is short. You and others can gain so much joy from making one another laugh. 8. Once you give, forget you've given it. Life is not a series of transactions where we have to make a profit. 9. Having a disability doesn't mean you can't do something. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. Maybe you do it differently or not. Maybe slower or faster. If you have a disability, just do what you want to do. If you don't have a disability, don't stop someone who does. 10. Don't be thinking about what other people are thinking, about what you're doing or thinking. It's too much thinking and not beneficial. 11. If you do start to worry about what other people think about you, reread Rule 10. 12. Give people your time. It's your greatest commodity and a true sign of selflessness, that you would sacrifice something that you can never get back just for them. 12.5 is my rule. Don't take that time for granted. 13. Smile. But if you don't feel like smiling, that's okay. You don't need to. I just hope you have someone to sit with, hold your hand and never leave. Someone to stay with you until you remember that the very thing making you sad is the same thing that brought you so much joy. And then you can smile about how precious those memories are. 14 is love. Remember to remind people you love them. You never know when they'll need it most. And not with some ulterior motive that it'll come back to you. No, with pure intentions, because you know that you can impact people's lives. There's a great quote from a book I once read that says, "Love is not like cake. You don't carve it in 2 pieces till there's none left. It's more like the magic pudding. The more you use of it, the more it grows." Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Your words have been really uplifting and a reminder for me not to take anyone or anything for granted, so thank you. Next, thank you for those of you who have returned your leaves with the heartfelt messages for your children. We have pinned your leaves to the tree, and we will transcribe your messages into the book. And if you haven't returned your leaves and you would like to share these with us, you can do so following the service. We will now join together in listening to a special musical reflection by Tanya Silvera's performance of Ed Sheeran's song, Photograph. Loving can hurt, loving can hurt sometimes, but it's the only thing that I know. When it gets hard, you know it can get hard sometimes. It is the only thing that makes us feel alive. We keep this love in a photograph. We make these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, hearts are never broken, time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. You were always home. Loving can heal, loving can mend your soul, and it's the only thing that I know. I swear it will get easier from you without every piece of you, and it's the only thing we take with us when we die. We keep this love in a photograph. We make these memories for ourselves, where our eyes are never closing, hearts are never broken, and time's forever frozen still. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. So you can keep me inside the pocket of your ripped jeans, holding me closer till our eyes meet. You won't ever be alone. You were always home. 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 Loving can hurt. The death of a child impacts so many in your family, possibly your child's school or your local community. Today we continue the service with the lighting of the candles to honour significant relationships. In understanding the love between a parent and their child, we have Kate Kitchetigan, Alice's mother. In knowing the bond between siblings, we welcome Sophia Reichert, Amelia's sister, supported by her father, Phil. In recognising the devotion of grandparents, we have Lee Timbury. By appreciating the connection to community, we welcome Vez Campion, who is helping us live stream the service today. To acknowledge the commitment from staff, we welcome Tanya Silvera. One of the most common things that parents have talked about is how much the opportunity to say their child's name and also hear it from others means to them. Some of you have sent us photographs and given us permission to speak your child's name, and we will do this now. Parents, families, and friends also have the opportunity to say their child's name. If you haven't already given us permission to say your child's name and you would like to participate, you may wish to say this at home amongst your family and friends, that is. Name by name, we are helping break the stigma that prevents families from seeking support, finding healing, and most of all, having hope. Today, we are reinforcing the idea that every child deserves to be celebrated. It can be healing and meaningful to remember them, talk about them, with tears, with laughter, with joy, and with sorrow. We are hopeful that our Remembrance service will encourage more people to talk openly and be treated with empathy, sensitivity, and respect.
حاتم الحربي. بسام الحربي. بسام and حاتم. Tristan Aboud. Lexi Elizabeth Adam. Zoya Ali. Cooper Beckett Tasker. Neve Ann Brady. Baby Rose Draw Tini. Kalani Ann Ebbs. Luca Gedges. Harper Louise. Jasmine Mina Hess. Alice Kachetikan. Cooper Kingston Kofi. Ellis Layfield. Muazzam Mustafa. Jamila Quaidir. Amelia Rose Reichardt. Sadiq Sheikh. Taya Coral Sydney. Ethan Smith. Sevi Simons. Justin Ross Ventimiglia.
As we conclude our service, I'd like to thank Auntie Maxine, who is from the Lapperouse community, Mohammed El Shafi, our chaplain, Verity Lucky from SEH Executive, Amelia's father and their family, Phil, Sophia, Roseanne and June, Alice's brother Henry and their family, Kate and friend Joe, Vez Campion and Jim Morley, who helped facilitating the streaming of this service, our very talented musicians Tanya and Monica, and all the staff who worked behind the scenes in preparation, including our child life therapist Amy Langren and all the social workers from the social work department. But most importantly, we wanted to thank you, the families, for joining us today. We appreciate that the loss of a child can often isolate you from others, and although we have not been able to meet in person today, we hope that by coming together virtually, you feel some sense of connection as you find meaning in hope in remembering and celebrating your child. We are available for support. Nora O'Loughlin, our bereavement coordinator, will be available on 0412 957 319 for the next hour. However, this phone is not checked at other times, but you can call us during business hours in the social work department, which is 9382 1021. And all of this information has been sent to you previously in an email. And before I go, just a reminder that we will send an email evaluation, and we'd appreciate it if you could take a moment to complete this. Your ideas and feedback have been helpful, and ultimately we want this service to be as meaningful as possible for you. We hope today has been a heartfelt reminder of the love and support that is shared by staff and families of Sydney Children's Hospital in appreciation of the lives of your children. Thank you.